So if we go into system setup again, I will now switch over to the demo system. The login ID and password is displayed there, so you can use it, use that to play around with it later as well. So let me just log out real quick. And so this is what you would be greeted to when you go to the demo site. And then the administrative username and password should be auto-filled in for you. If not, it's displayed on the slide. So initially, we would go through system setup, and as I was saying, let's look into location. So this will define the geographical coverage of your social health protection scheme. So here you can see you can have regions, districts, municipalities, and then villages. So 4 levels of administrative boundaries that you can define in OpenIMIS, and this is where the scheme would be active for people to enroll or services available. It's pretty straightforward. You just keep on adding regions, then add districts within the regions, municipalities within districts, and then villages. On the villages, you see there are functionalities to add population, so the male population, female population, and the number of families. And this is really useful in designing a capitation-based insurance scheme. So the populations would actually feed into that. So once we're done with these locations, another very important aspect is to provide information on where these services are available in terms of health facilities. So you can go here to the administration tab again, just like we did during locations. Then up here, there's a tab called health facilities, a button, and this is what you would see. So we can add new health facilities here. And this would be, you get a lot of options in terms of what are the different, entering in the different location information, as well as the different types of care provided. Is it only an inpatient service provider, outpatient, or both? And mind you, these can all be configured. If you have a deployment where you need different configurations, OpenIMIS can be configured to a certain point, and then beyond that, you would have to customize it, which is also possible since all of the source code is available right now. So again, and then one of the more important things here is a price list. So each health facility can be defined a different price list if that is how your social health protection scheme is defined. So you can have different prices per facility, or you can have it per region, or you can just have one national price list. So this is how you would define health facilities. Another major part of system would be to enter in information in terms of medical services. So what services are available in this social health protection? You can see that there are some available, so you can get a different code. And this is where I'd really like to link to what Dr. Alvin was saying, OpenIMIS system. So if we can start using standard codes, if OpenIMIS, and this is in the roadmap that we promote international standard codes, then we can really push this into a health system and make sure data from different systems are actually interoperable. As with other information, we can enter in name of the service provider. Is it a preventive or curative service? What level is it? And all of these level, price, and then care type. Is it a inpatient, outpatient, or as both? As well as the 4 different types of patients and their different combinations. These are all used as rules when later on claims would be reviewed. So if right now we just have, we select a woman and an adult and define the services accordingly, this service would be rejected for insuree who's not an adult woman. So if a adult man claims this particular service that we would enter here, it would be rejected. So all these different rules can be programmed into OpenIMIS. So once we have these set up, and as you can see, there's a default price in there as well. Once we have all these set up, OpenIMIS segregates services and items. So before, those were medical services, and then a very similar screen for adding medical items. So these would be drugs, prostheses, and all the different other medical items than services. So they can be added here. So once this is done, and as you saw before, there was a default price. You can create different price lists, as I mentioned before, for medical services and medical items. So you can create price lists that are just the default prices that you entered when you were defining medical services here, or you can define different one for different, as I said, regions or facilities, whatever the need be. So all these things can be defined. And then the only thing left for an insurance is to actually define the insurance product, like what benefits are available and what are the contributions that are required. And this is after all the other systems have been set up. So there is a screen here from, under administration called products, and this is where the insurance scheme would be defined. And when you click on add this, you would see this screen. These are all the different options for defining a health insurance scheme. I will not go into detail in the interest of time about each and every cell here, but all this information is available in the detailed documentation of OpenIMIS, and if not, if you have some confusions, you can always reach out to us. But all in all, this is where you would define what medical services and items are available in a particular insurance scheme, when it's valid, how much it costs to actually get into the scheme. So what are the contribution amounts? What are penalties for, let's say, a delayed renewal, or what are grace periods? What are renewable discounts? All these things can be configured on this screen. And once this is done, generally there are not a lot of schemes promoted by the same insurer. Once this is done, then the system setup part of OpenIMIS would be complete. So as we saw here before, we've seen briefly how we define service delivery points in terms of locations and health facilities, how we define services, and then how the insurance product is defined. But now we'll get into one of the other features of OpenIMIS as a management information system tool. It facilitates a lot of processes within insurance. And one of the processes that is quite unique compared to other systems is the one for enrollment. The enrollment process in OpenIMIS is designed for the informal sector. Currently, while efforts are in place already to include a formal sector enrollment module into OpenIMIS, the current system is very much aligned to informal sector enrollment, where, as I put here, a typical enrollment scenario is having an insurance agent visiting a potential insuree's home. So this is a step-by-step on what happens in Nepal right now. And once the agent is at the insuree's home, they fill out a registration form per insuree, and this is done by hand. So this is a handwritten form. I will show you an example of a form later on. And one of the unique things is each of these registration forms have a unique QR code printed on them. So this makes each and every form unique. It does increase the cost of printing slightly, but the benefits that it provides are quite high. So the investment is worth it. So with these QR codes, what the agent does is it scans this QR code using the OpenIMIS Android app. So we have an app for enrollment, and takes a picture of the insuree. Once the QR code is scanned, then with the same app, the agent takes a picture of the insuree, which ideally, well, not ideally, but what it means after this process is that the QR code on the form is linked to the photo of the insuree. So there is no more need to ask for a physical photograph and paste it on an enrollment form. So we don't need physical photographs of any of the people being insured. And then the bottom part of the form is torn off and folded into a card. And then the rest of the form, the top half of the form, is brought back to the insurance office for data entry. So just as an example, this is it's written in Nepali, but this is a sample of what an insurance form looks like. As you can see within the red boxes for highlighting, this is where the unique QR codes are printed. And as you can see, the dotted line here on the bottom quarter of the page, this is where a perforation would be there for easy tearing off of this piece of paper. So an insurance agent would fill out all the information on the top as well as the bottom part of the form. Scan one of these QR codes. They are the same QR code. They are repeated on the bottom and the top half of the form. They scan this QR code and then take a picture. They scan it using the Android app and then take a picture of the person being registered with the same app, and then they send it to the OpenIMIS server. So what happens is, so as you can see, this is the app. They enter in the information about the agent or the officer who's on site. The CHF ID, this is the insurance ID that shows up after the codes are the QR codes are scanned. The bottom half is torn off as such, and then that is provided, folded in half, and provided to each family member as their insurance card. So as you can see, this is a process that has helped reduce costs considerably, as in we don't need to print very sophisticated cards, smart cards. We don't need pictures from each insuree, and we don't have the administrative burden of going back to the household to provide them the card. So this card is provided at the time of enrollment. So all of these processes happen at once. And then the remainder of this form, the top half, which you see here, is sent to the insurance office for data entry. So I'll briefly show you how this is done. So someone at the health insurance office would be using OpenIMIS, this web app. They would go to the insuree and policies tab, and then add a family or a group. And this can be a single family or a single person family or a multiple person family, depending on what type of scheme this is running. And this is where they would enter in all the information that they collect from the manual forms. And then this is where they would enter the insurance number, which is linked to the QR code. And this is how, I don't know if this example would work right now because we don't have live enrollment going on. But once you enter in this number, there would be a provision to browse for pictures that have been uploaded through the web app, from the Android app. So that way, this insuree, when it gets added, they would have, this would be linked to the picture, and again, completing the file so that there is no need for any physical photographs. So what that would mean is a system is fully complete with pictures on the OpenIMIS servers and people registered. So, and that can be used later for verification. Let me show you an example of how someone can be verified once a picture is provided. So I just have a code here. So if you enter in a code on top and then hit the green button, this is where, so you would see the picture of the person that was enrolled that would come up, and then details of their insurance policy would also show up after their forms have been fully entered through. So this is how, and as you can see, without having to take physical pictures from people, we were able to have a system, an insurance system that can still display photographs during verification time.